Hi friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today are 10 movies that I think you should watch. If you've seen some of these, just go on to the next one, and I'm sure you'll find something or a few somethings in the pile to enjoy. Now this first one just came out on physical, but I believe it was in theaters, so some of you may have seen it, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It is called Heretic, and this is the new offering from A24. It's available in the A24 shop, both on Blu-ray and 4K, so pick your poison, whichever one you want. But this is a horror, I would say horror psychological thriller. But we have two young gals who are going door to door. They are representing the Mormon church, and they are offering people who want information about the church to sit down, and they'll talk to them, give them information about the church. They go to the house of Hugh Grant, who plays a gentleman by the name of Mr. Reed, and he welcomes them into his home. They tell him that they cannot go into the home unless there is another female present. So they ask if he has a daughter, a wife, a roommate, whatever. He says his wife is home. They're more than welcome to come in. She's baking pie, the whole thing. So they go in, they sit down. Again, they ask to see the wife. And they are very persistent about the woman being present while they're there. So he's running from room to room, and he's telling them, making all these excuses where the wife is. And, you know, right away, we're suspicious, they're uncomfortable. And finally, he invites them into the other room to meet his wife, and that's where things get a little crazy. And I'm not going to get into it because it's very easy to ruin horror movies, you know that, and you know I'm not about spoilers. So what I will tell you is this movie has a ton of twists and turns. It's a mind bender of a movie. It's one of, I think, Hugh Grant's best performances in a very, very long time. I mean, I loved him in Wonka as a little Oompa Loompa guy, but I really enjoyed him as the so-called lead in this movie. I thought he was fantastic, and I can't wait to watch this one again. I really did enjoy it. I know it's not going to be for everyone, and some people will love it, some people hate it. That's horror. But if you're a horror fan and you want something different, something new, check out Heretic. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I wouldn't have it on the list if I thought you'd be disappointed. Who do you think I am, right? This next one, this is, I believe it's the German copy. I just saw it on Orbit, so I scooped it up, and I didn't even realize that the English-American version is available on Amazon for about the same price, and it is the 4K Blu-ray of, it's called Das Parfum, but it is called Perfume, The Story of Murder. And this one is excellent. This is such a good movie, and I'd never heard of it. Dustin Hoffman's in it, which is what caught my attention. It takes place in 1738, so it is a timepiece, but don't let that dissuade you from watching it. This is a great, great movie. Basically what we have is this young gentleman who is born with an overpowering sense of smell. He believes he can smell everything, every aroma, odor, everything that you can smell, every scent that you can smell, he can smell. And he's on a mission as he grows up to try to meet up with these perfume makers so that he can learn how to make the world's best perfume. But he has very, very unconventional, creepy, and horrific ways of going about his little, shall we say, experiment with perfume, but really, really good stuff. Don't read up too much on this. I would say just go in blind and watch it, because that's what I did, and I was pleasantly surprised. This is a really, really good movie. So check out Das Parfum, a murder story, whatever you want to do with it. I don't know if it's still on Orbit, but I know it is still readily available as a 4K on Amazon. Now this next one, for my friends who love the classics, myself included. Now this is actually a Hammer film, and it stars the one, the only, the late, great Bette Davis, one of my favorites of all time. And I hadn't seen this one before, but it's the anniversary. This is such a great film. Look at her on the cover with that little eye patch on. It's so great, and it just makes her character complete. The first copy I had of this was a DVD, so I don't remember where I got this. I might have found this on Orbit too. I'm not sure if this is a United States release or not, but I know you can get the DVD, and maybe I got this on maybe I got it on eBay, but it is not a bootleg. It's a pressed disc, so it's not a bootleg, as you can see. But yeah, it's a legit disc, so it's out there, but check around for it. Now, she just takes evil to a whole new level. And this is almost, as with all her films, it's a lot of dark comedy, so you know she's gonna nail it, and it's so, so good. She plays a woman who is a widow, and every year what she does is she invites her adult children, her 3 adult children, back to the home, the family home, to celebrate the death of their father, her late husband. And when she's there, she has a real problem with her kids and with her kids who have spouses and grandchildren. She can't stand her grandchildren. She can't stand the spouses of her kids. She doesn't even really like her kids, but she just does some of the most horrible things in this movie that I've ever seen her do. But it is, you almost don't, you feel bad laughing at it, but don't. Just go with it. Have fun. She is horrible. She's the worst mother-in-law you could ever imagine having. Just imagine having bad Betty Davis as your mother-in-law. That's what you're going to get in this movie. But they go to the house to celebrate the anniversary of this death, and just all hell breaks loose, and it is Betty Davis at her finest. Just watch the anniversary. You will not be disappointed. It's fantastic. So let's see. Okay, this next one is a film that stars Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe. Some of you may have seen this. If you haven't seen it, you've probably heard of it. Now, there is a Kino Lorber release of this. I just wanted this one because I believe it's a 4K. It's a German media book. It is called Mississippi Burning. And this takes place in the 1960s in Mississippi, when racism was at an all-time high, KKK, all that stuff at an all-time high. And what happens is 3 gentlemen have gone down there to, they're like civil rights activists, and they have gone down there to do some kind of work, and they've gone missing. So Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe are 2 FBI agents that go down to this little town in Mississippi to find out if they can see what happened to these people. And what they find out when they go to this town is horrific. And I just recommend everyone watch it, especially the climate that we're in today. Everybody needs to see this film. If you haven't seen Mississippi Burning, please, please, please watch it. It's an excellent film. Great performances from Willem Dafoe and Gene Hackman. And it's interesting because Gene Hackman obviously plays the older FBI agent who has a very different take on things than the younger agent, Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe was a little more compassionate, a little more like, let's take it easy. And, you know, Gene Hackman just goes in, you know, doing it old school. And it's interesting how differently they work on the case, but how much they both actually care about what happens. And it's a really, really good movie. So check out Mississippi Burning. I would put that high on your list if you haven't seen it. And like I said, there's a very reasonably priced Kino Lorber Blu-ray edition readily available. Now this next one, this was a recommendation, I want to say like 2 years ago, from my dear, dear friend Nathan Jones, who just changed his channel name again. Film Journeys with Nathan Jones. He was specifically Blu-rays with Nathan Jones. He's now Film Journeys with Nathan Jones, which he does very well at. But he recommended this, and the reason I'm bringing it up is, number one, it's a fantastic film and a beautifully done film, but also it is finally getting a Blu-ray release from Umbrella. I believe it's in March, so hopefully we'll get a US one, but if you want to look for the Umbrella release, it is still available for pre-order, I believe, on Orbit. So check Orbit, check Diabolic, see if you can still pre-order it. It is called Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring. This is the DVD version. Again, this DVD is readily available on Amazon. If you don't want to wait for the Blu-ray, or you don't want to invest in the Blu-ray, you can also stream this. I believe it was $3 on Prime to stream it, but this is a beautiful, moving movie. And basically what it is we have a Buddhist monk who's living out in the middle of this body of water, like a lake, a pond, and he's living in a little cabin. He has a dock around it, and he has a young boy. He has this young boy living with him. We're not sure how he ended up with the young boy, but he is basically trying to teach the young boy how to be a good person. He's letting him learn lessons on his own. He's mentoring him. He's trying to make him a good person. And what we do is, as we go through each season, spring, summer, fall, winter, and spring, we see the different seasons of this young man's life as he grows and changes, starts to explore the outside world, different things that happen, different emotions that he goes through. And you don't have to know anything about Buddhism to appreciate the beauty and the lessons in this movie. It's fantastic. So if you're into that kind of thing, like a slow roll of a movie that has deep, deep, deep rooted meaning and beautiful cinematography and just a beautiful message, I would highly recommend this one. And like I said, you have choices. You can do the DVD that's available on Amazon. You can stream it on Prime if you're unsure about the content, if it's going to be for you. You can also look over on Orbit and Diabolic and see about the Umbrella Blu-ray that is coming in the spring. So check this out any way you can. It's well worth a watch. And it's one that I know I personally will rewatch often. So thank you to Nathan for that great recommendation. Now, this next one has to be a double header, but it counts as one. Because and this has nothing to do with politics, so please don't think I'm getting political here. That's not my scene. We are here to escape the reality of what's outside the walls of our homes. But I did want to watch the movie The Apprentice, which is about Donald Trump. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew about it is that he didn't want it released before the election. Can't imagine why. But I thought this was going to be about the show. But really what it is it's about the young Donald Trump, like in the late 70s and early 80s, when he was involved with his father doing like some low-income housing where they didn't want to rent to certain people. They made it very difficult for certain people. And he was a very soft-spoken man. He was very quiet. He was very much under the foot of his father until a certain point when he gained some confidence and some backing from a gentleman by the name of Roy Cohn, who I'm going to tell you about in a second. And he really formed him into the person, good or bad, that we know today, who is a real estate mogul, go for the throat, jugular vein type of businessman, now president of our country, love it or hate it, whatever you think. But he turned him from this really mild-mannered man into this ruthless businessman who was going to be successful at any cost with anything he did. So I would say you don't have to like the person to like the movie. This was a very, very good movie, a very interesting snapshot at that part of his life, the early years and how he turned into the person he is today. But it stops right around, I would say, probably the mid-80s. But the person that he met, and you have to watch this movie first. This is a documentary. It's called Where's My Roy Cohn? That's the movie. And this is a documentary about Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was a ruthless, wicked, horrible person. He was the guy that John Gotti called when he wanted to get him out of trouble. He was an attorney, and he would also look for these proteges that he thought he could mold into these ruthless people that would follow his guidelines. And that's what we see happening in this movie. Roy Cohn gets a hold of Donald Trump in a social club, and he takes him under his wing. But your jaw will hit the floor when you see the story of Roy Cohn. He was just a despicable person, but everybody wanted him on their side because he made a lot of people a lot of money, and he made a lot of bad people very, very, very wealthy. And he had a very, very, very complicated life, but it's a really interesting documentary. And I know I'm leaving a lot out. I'm doing that on purpose because I want you to watch these two together. Where's My Roy Cohn? Follow it with The Apprentice, and you have a home run of a doubleheader. These are really, really great together. And if you don't watch this, you're not going to get the whole story with this. So definitely check those out, even if you stream them. Okay, one more that's a little bit on the dark side, and then I have a few that'll lighten things up to just finish this one out. But I know I talked about this one, James McAvoy and Speak No Evil, which came out this year. What I didn't know about, I enjoyed this one for what it was. I thought it was good. I thought James McAvoy was fantastic, as always. And basically it's about a couple that, they go on vacation, they meet James McAvoy and his wife and child, and they decide to, hang out, they become friends. And he invites them to their home for a weekend getaway, have fun, hang out, get to know each other a little better. And the couple reluctantly goes because they don't know them that well. They go, and things don't go as planned. But that's the basic synopsis of this one. What I didn't know is that this is a remake of an original from 2022. Speak No Evil. Now, I believe this is a Danish version, but this was so much better, in my opinion. If I had seen this one to begin with, I don't know that I would have liked this one as much. I thought this was a little drawn. When I'm comparing the two, I think this ending is a little bit too drawn out. It's also almost a shot-for-shot remake of this, but this is just done so much better. Same premise, same storyline, but this ending, whew, what a gut punch. This is such a great movie. I don't even know why they remade it, but I thought this was really good. If you haven't seen the original, please do yourself a favor, see it. And if you haven't seen the remake, just see the original first, see what you think, and then make your decision on the remake, because I thought this was a home run. I was blown away. They trimmed all the fat off this, and they added some extra things into the other one that aren't in this one, and I just think this one is just so much better. But now, I got this on eBay because I love my media books, but in the States what we have is we have a DVD that is readily available on Amazon. There was a Blu-ray edition. I'm not sure if it was a UK Blu-ray or where it was from, but it was up for pre-sale on Orbit, and I had put in to get it, and it was canceled. So I don't know if it's coming to Blu-ray. I don't know if we're going to see it on Blu-ray. I don't know what happened. They just canceled the order, so I assume they're not getting it. But for right now, you can watch it. It's a Shudder original, so it might still be streaming on Shudder or elsewhere. But definitely see the original, especially if you haven't seen the remake. Even if you've seen the remake, just see it, because for comparison purposes, I just think this is so much better. I just thought this was great. So I really enjoyed it. And if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's well worth a watch. Now this one, this is just like a light, easy, feel-good movie. I thought it was, I don't think it's like gonna win any awards or anything like that, but I'm a huge fan of June Squibb. If you know who she is, she played the mom and the wife in the movie Nebraska, and I just thought she was brilliant in that, and I thought she was great in this one. And this one is, her name is Thelma, and here's Thelma. She's on her scooter. Thelma is, I believe she plays a 90-year-old who has been scammed. She's fell victim to a scam. They've gotten, I believe, $10,000 from her. They've been pretending like to be her grandson or something. She finds out she's been scammed, and she sets out to hunt down the scammers on her own and get her money back. And it's so good. It's such a feel-good movie. It's such a movie about empowerment. Like, you are not going to take anything from me. You're not going to take money from me. You're not going to scam me. And damn it, no matter what I have to do, if I have to ride my scooter, I'm going to get my money back. And I just loved her in this. There's so many funny parts. There's so many feel-good parts. And I just thought June Squibb was perfect in this one. And there's different interactions that take place. She ends up in a senior citizen living home, like an assisted living type place where she has friends, and she ends up boosting a scooter, and all kinds of things go on, but she's great, and she has a friend who ends up trying to help her. And just, if you want to feel good, just watch Thelma. It's going to make you laugh, and it's going to make you really think about life in a whole different way. And don't try to scam people, because you don't always win. So definitely give Thelma a look. Now this one I may have mentioned before, but it's worth bringing up again, and I'm actually going to watch it again today because I love this movie. It stars Michael Keaton. It is called The Founder, and it is the true story about the forming of McDonald's. And Michael Keaton plays a guy by the name of Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc stumbles upon the original McDonald's run by the McDonald brothers, and he realizes that they're really onto something, and he worms his way in, and he basically tries to push the brothers out of something that was their invention, their baby, and he tries to push them out, and he wants to make this, what ends up being this God knows billion-dollar franchise. I don't know what it's worth, but you know, you can't go through any town and not see a McDonald's. So this is the story of him, and what a ruthless business person he was, and what a horrible human being he was at times. But it's a very interesting story, and I'm going to watch it again because I just thought it was great. Michael Keaton is great, and I'm a big fan of his, so I'm going to watch this again tonight. Now, the last movie that I have to recommend was, a lot of you asked me if I had seen Anora. I'm going to put the poster art right here, assuming my computer will let me. But Anora was announced. It's coming to Criterion, I believe, in March. And I hadn't seen it. I know it was in theaters, but I hadn't seen it. But I streamed it because I wanted to see it before I decided if I was going to spend Criterion money to buy it. I will say I liked it. I think it's long. It runs at like 2 hours, 19 minutes. They could have trimmed about 20 minutes off of that, even more, and maybe had just under a 2-hour movie, and it would have tightened everything up, and it would have been, I think, a better experience. But it is a good movie. It's well worth watching. It's well worth buying if you like this kind of movie. What we have is a young gal by the name of, she goes by Annie, but her real name is Anora. And she is working in a gentleman's club. So she's dancing in a gentleman's club. One night, she knows Russia. She can speak Russian. So one night, a man comes in, a gentleman, he's young, he comes in, he requests a gal who can speak Russian. She's the only one. She gets assigned to him. And what ends up happening is he starts to hire her to spend time with him outside of the gentleman's club. And he's this young guy, and she's really impressed with him. He's got this big house, this mansion, these bodyguards, all kinds of things. He has wild parties, and she's very taken with him, and he seems to be very taken with her. And what he asks is, you know, if she would want to be hired for him for a week, to work for him for a week, and she says yes. They negotiate. What ends up happening is they, you know, of course, they form a legit interest in each other. And what I'm going to say is things just go wild from there, because certain people find out and they're not happy about the relationship. They're not happy about the girl's background. The young gentleman is a lot more involved with his family than he'd like her to believe, and they have a lot to say about the situation. What I will tell you is there's a lot of cursing, a lot of sex, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, and a lot of fighting. It is wild. But I had a good time with it. I just thought there was one segment between the second and third act that I thought just ran a little bit too long. I thought they could have removed that, and it would have been a very, very nice, tight, under 2-hour movie instead of 2 hours and 19 minutes. I also thought that there were some questions that I thought needed to be answered, and I hoped at the runtime of 2 hours and 19 minutes that eventually these certain questions that are important to the plot would be answered, and they really weren't. They were inferred but not totally answered to my satisfaction. Otherwise, what I can tell you is I will be picking it up for my collection. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was fun. It was a fun time. It's crazy. It's a wild ride. And I think most of you will enjoy it if you can put up with that kind of runtime. But like I said, they could have tightened it up, but they didn't. But all in all, I thought Anora was a really good time. It's a really fun watch. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's bonkers. And it's totally unhinged. And I think you'll just have a really good time with it. So if you want to check that out, I would suggest, with the price of things now and how expensive things are, even at a sale, give it a stream before you buy it if you haven't seen it in theaters. So Anora would be my last recommendation for movies to check out. So that's it. Those are my 10 for today, and I want to thank everyone who clicked on the video. I'm sure a lot of people are maybe watching this Monday because today is Sunday, apparently a big football day. So I hope you enjoyed your football, and whenever you get to this, thank you for giving it a look, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found some films to pick out, and if you like things like this and everything about physical media, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload again. And that's going to do it for me today. So for now, that's a wrap.